This incident happened just a few hours earlier, and I'm typing this story currently at my workplace. I work in the garden area of a home improvement store. I don't work the cash registers, and my manager doesn't even let me water the flowers, so a lot of the time I have nothing to do. This results in me taking extremely long bathroom breaks, where I just scroll on my phone. I know it sounds bad, but it's better than standing around trying to look busy. Today was the same as any other, with me wasting time in the bathroom. Nothing of interest happened until my work phone buzzed at the same time as a stall next to mine. This becomes important later. A few seconds later, I see that the guy in the stall next to me had his hand stretched to the ground with his palm facing up. I at first thought he had run out of toilet paper and was asking me for mine. He just stayed silent for a while, so I ignored him after that. Then he started moving his hand uncomfortably close to my leg, so I immediately scooted away and prepared to leave. Once the man noticed that, he hurriedly got out of his stall before I could leave. Another few seconds of silence. I took a peek out from the gap of the stall door to see what the hell he was doing, and just like a scene for a horror movie, our eyes connected. He was barely an inch away from my door, trying to peek inside. My blood ran cold, and if you're wondering why I didn't immediately open the door and cuss the guy out, I really hate confrontation. I avoid it whenever possible, and I do my best not to draw attention to myself. I stood sideways by the door so he wouldn't be able to see me. That's when the whispering started. I don't know what the first thing he said was, but it sounded like moaning. The next part was a bit more audible. He said something along the lines of wanting to see my unflushed toilet paper. I was thoroughly disgusted, and this guy was a complete creep and I was alone in the bathroom with him. My heart was beating faster by the second. I guess we had to stay there until another person came into the bathroom. No way I was going to confront him alone. Probably a minute later, someone finally arrives and I take this as my chance to wash my hands and get the hell out of there. Thankfully, the presence of another person made the old man quit his creepy behavior. As I was about to leave, he blocked my path for a second before stepping aside. The weird thing was, I don't even think he works at the store because he wasn't wearing any vest. My store is pretty lenient about uniforms, but most workers at least wear a vest or something connected to the store. He just looked like a regular customer. I'm certain I heard 2 phone dings in that bathroom. The phones have signature rings to them, so it couldn't have been a coincidence. Either way, he only started creeping on me once the phone rang and it made it clear that I was an employee. The situation really creeped me out, and I've been totally unfocused on my work ever since then. I kept prowling the garden area looking for any old man wearing a similar outfit to the creeper. I have an incredibly hard time distinguishing faces, so I probably wouldn't even recognize him if I did see him. Creepy bathroom stalker. Let's not meet again. The story takes place when I was around 16 or 17 years old. I lived with my dad in a little apartment in a questionable area. It was the type of area you'd not want to be out and about when the sun goes down. Up until a certain time, like 10 or 11 p.m., there would be a cop or two in the area patrolling and making sure that there's no gang-related activities going on. I had a job in a restaurant in the city, which was about a 30-minute car ride and an hour-and-a-half train ride. The train was a couple of blocks away from my place, and since my dad was always too lazy or hungover to drive me, that was my main form of transportation. I went to work around 3 p.m. and would usually get home around 12 or 1 a.m. This was my schedule 4 days a week, aside from having school. I would see a lot of familiar faces on the train because of this, but we never really made conversation with each other. Until one night, when I got out of work late because some assholes wanted to sit in the restaurant past closing. Thanks to them, I missed my train. The next one wasn't scheduled to arrive for another hour, so having nowhere to go and no money for Lyft or Uber, I sat there waiting. No one was around me, so when this older man showed up, kind of staggering a bit, I assumed he was another drunken hobo in the city trying to catch a train to sleep in. Something about his face gave me deja vu, but I shrugged it off, thinking maybe I'd just seen him on the train here and there. He made his way over to me, and much to my discomfort, he started up a conversation. He wasn't slurring, but the way he was looking down at me gave me goosebumps. He asked me why I was out there so late, all by myself. I had to reply as not to anger him. I mean, we were all alone, and he was close enough to pull out a knife or something. Anyway, I told him I was waiting for a train, and he asked which one. Now the train was color-coded with a strip at the top to indicate whether it goes north, south, east, or west areas. I took blue, but I lied and said I took green. He looked at the schedule above the benches and saw that the green train was coming in 15 minutes, so he said he'd keep me company. For those extremely long 15 minutes, he asked me how long I'd been working at so-and-so restaurant. This made my blood run ice cold. I never told him where I worked. I just looked at him and very timidly said, "For a year," and he laughed. He said, "Wow, it's already been a whole year, huh?" At this point, my skin was itching out of anxiety, and as soon as the green train came, I knew I had no choice but to take it. I said goodbye to him and thanked him for the chat, hoping that would be the end of it. Nope. He suddenly told me that he took the green train too, so he followed me on and sat in a seat behind me. My mind was racing about whether he was trying to do something to me like chloroform me or hurt me in some other way, but we rode the train in silence. I was trying to figure out how I was going to lose him. There weren't many people riding the train at that hour. Our car was empty, unfortunately. As the train ride went on in menacing silence, I could feel him staring down the back of my head. I waited until we got to a stop where there was another person, and I was so relieved to see a woman sitting there. She wasn't boarding, so I immediately got off the train and the man followed me, as I expected. I took a seat on a bench next to hers, close enough for her to see and hear everything going on, hoping she would catch on. The man noticed that I was sniffling, allergies plus being out in the cold, and asked if I was sick. I told him no, but he insisted on giving me these weird pills he had that were supposedly cold medication. I declined in a louder voice, "Sorry, I don't accept pills from strangers." This prompted the lady to look at us, and I made eye contact with her. She knew now. Now this went on until a blue train came by, and the lady got up, giving me a look that told me to get on with her. So without explanation, I did. She waved me over to sit next to her, and when the man tried to follow, she said, "No, you go sit over there," and made him sit a couple seats across from us. He chose the one where he could face us, and stared at me the entire time. I was shaking and about to burst into tears. The woman leaned over and whispered to me that she had a pistol. I felt safer there with her. We whispered back and forth about what happened. I told her where I lived and how I was worried he would follow me home. She told me a friend of hers would be boarding the train soon, and that when he did, she told me his name was Ray. Ray was filled in about everything and agreed to escort me home. She promised me that I could trust him. The two of them waited with me until I got to my stop. The man, still watching me, started to smile wildly. He shouted, "This is your place, right?" To which I didn't respond and just gave the woman a hug and thanked her. Ray and I hurriedly hopped off the train, and as soon as I looked back, I saw that the woman had pulled out her pistol and told the man to sit back down, even blocking the exit with her body. I finally let myself cry in relief. Ray walked me home and tried to calm me down by telling me about his job and his family. After watching me get inside the gates of my apartment safely, I thanked him profusely for his help. It chills me to even think about how that night would have turned out if I hadn't met up with that woman and her friend. I feel extremely lucky to this day. I never saw that man again and eventually stopped thinking about him, but in the back of my head, that creepy, aroused smile of his was burned into my mind, and I couldn't help but wonder just what else he knew about me.